Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, Almost Home Creates. Today I'm going to be making an egg trinket box that I found on Amazon a couple of days ago while I was shopping for new molds. The mica powder I'm using is going to be the bronze color, and basically what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn everything inside out and start brushing the mica powder onto the inside seams where like the filigree would be on the egg. Now, I personally like to use a small makeup brush for this because I feel like it gets in the cracks a lot better and you have complete coverage. So what I'm basically going to do is take the makeup brush and brush it in beside each of the little filigrees. And what you want to do is make sure you actually press it into all of the little holes in there, or it's not going to adhere correctly. So after doing it, you also want to make sure that you're going to end up in the end getting all the excess off. So it doesn't really matter if you kind of get on the spaces that are going to be colored. So basically the most important thing at this step is to make sure that you're getting all your edges and around everything completely covered, and that you're getting the brush right in there and trying to tap out all the loose powder as you go. Now basically this part, it takes me about 20 to 25 minutes per half to get it really well brushed in and cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this part because basically you can see exactly what I'm doing. If you notice, there's quite a bit of mica powder that basically falls all over, so periodically I just try to clean up my table as I go to keep it off the rest of the mold as much as possible. But basically when you get done putting it in all of the filigree, you'll be able to wipe down all the spaces that you don't want it on, and it comes off very easily from the molds, and it wipes up pretty easy from your working surfaces as well. So at this point, I'm basically cleaning all the extra mica powder off of all of the spots that I want to show through with the color that I'm going to have in my egg. So all those little extra raised white spots, I'll be cleaning off so that all of that will shine through. And you basically have to do this with both halves, do it with both sides. So at this point, I have it very cleaned how I like it, so I'm just going to attempt to not mess it up when I start to flip it inside out. I did see one little space I wanted to kind of clean up there with the rim, make sure that it comes out so that it has that bronze color right there. Alright. So now I'm going to try to flip this as carefully as I can the correct way to be able to pour the resin without messing and smudging it as much as possible. But to be completely honest, I haven't figured out a way to completely keep it clean. So basically just be prepared to do a little bit of cleaning up on this. So basically I have to go around and wipe down all the edges, wipe down the center, and then I kind of push the center down so I can see around the edges. And there's little spots where you can see that the bronze has come off. And so I just kind of went through and wiped each one individually just so I could have as clean of a finish as possible when I'm done. Okay, I'm ready to pour now. So basically what I thought is I decided I was going to use this Color Flow pigment ink, and it's the turquoise color. And I started adding a few drops at a time just to get it to the color that I decided to ultimately go with, and I believe in the end I had 10 drops of this color in my resin. And there's about 200 milliliters of the resin that I mixed up. At this point I decided I did not love this turquoise quite so much, so after mixing this all up I decided to add a couple of drops of the Color Ink Resin Blue color, just to darken it a little bit, because while I want it pretty transparent, I'd like a slightly darker color than what I was getting from this. So at this point I'm pretty happy with the color, so I'm just going to pour now. So the first thing I did was pour the heart in the center of the top, And then I slowly pour the resin in each of the molds. And basically you want to kind of wait, because if you notice on this one especially, you'll start to see the bubbles start to come to the top and pop right away. So give it time to let it pop all the bubbles that it will pop, and then just slowly keep filling until it's full. You may also want to squish the sides a little, as you see me doing there, because that helps kind of bring some of the bubbles to the top. Now, the one thing I did note after finishing this first time is that basically you'll end up with a lot of bubbles in the little crevices where it looks like there's dots, basically. So next time I'd probably go ahead and squish a little more in those areas to try to get out all those additional air bubbles. But overall, it's a pretty easy pour. I also went ahead and used a lighter at the top just to get those little bubbles out that were still there, and made sure I did it to each one. And as I let them sit over the next couple of hours, I'd come back and pop the bubbles that had additionally come to the top. So now, after letting them dry for a day, I'm going to go ahead and unmold and see what they look like. This mold is particularly difficult in its own way to get things out of. They want to just stick on there. But if you see where we put the mica powder, it's just done beautifully. I can't wait to take the mold out of the inside to see how clear it looks and what the color actually looks like. All right. Okay. I just have to say, I love this. I love the color. I just love how all of it looks together. After you get all the pieces unmolded, basically your next step is to put the jewels on each of the little filigree places that has a flat spot where it can actually hold a jewel. And to do this, all I'm going to use is super glue. Now, I've seen some people use resin, and then it's the UV resin, and they'll dry it, but I personally just felt like using super glue because I don't like having to wear gloves to put jewels on, and I really just don't like working with resin without the gloves on. So at this point, the top, I'm going to take that bronze and I'm going to put the mica powder all covering the rest of the top piece so that the rest of it is bronze, because the only part I want blue is the little heart. So I'm going to quick do that, and I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part for a little bit. So at this point, you're basically just going to pour and fill it with resin. I used my Tiger Eye pigment ink just because I wanted to see what it would look like. I've never used this color before, so I thought it was a good time to pick a color where it really wouldn't matter what color it was, because basically all you're going to see is that bronze mica powder. Now, after pouring this, I'm going to let this sit for the day, and while we are waiting for this to dry, I'm going to go ahead and add all of those rhinestone jewels to the outside of my egg. Alright, so basically this is another painstaking process where you have to glue each individual one. And like I said, I like to use super glue because it just, for me, seems a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and kind of speed through this part too, because as I said, you can see what's happening and and we'll just get this part done quickly so you can just see the final result with all of the jewels on it. And here it is. I love it. I like the blue. I like the bronze. I like how all of it looks together. And the last thing I have to do is unmold the top of the lid and super glue it in place. I use super glue again for this, and basically what I'm going to do after I unmold it, and this is the hardest unmolding I've ever done, it just did not want to come out, is I will kind of look around the outside of the egg and decide which I think the best looking part is, and I will make sure that I have that heart kind of lined up with it so that it has the best spot in the front. I have to say, I absolutely love this project. It's my favorite one I think I've done so far. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and pin some links. If you're interested in any of the stuff I use, I'll pin the mold on Amazon, and I will pin the resin I used for this, and any of the other things I might have gotten there that you might be interested in. Basically, I'm just going to hold this in place for a while as I super glue it down just to make sure it stays stuck. And there you go. My all-time favorite project, this little egg. I just love how it turned out. The mold has been great. It fits together perfectly. The lid just works so well. And I'm just so pleased. What do you think? I love it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more.